is that?
Jonah Magnus. His body, at least. Sitting here, watching, binding it all together, growing ever older. If you want to take his place, well...
I'll need to kill him.
Yes. Don't worry, though. I brought a knife.
For the record, I was right. I did theorize that Jonah's corpse was in the center. The episode isn't released yet.
Where are his eyes?
But it's in the script.
They've always been, Martin.
Ah!
My institute.
I f***ing called it!
Sure. And he's been body hopping like whatever was in Raina.
So is he going to help Peter, or...?
That's what I said!
I simply want you to know that if you do so, you are almost certainly not coming.
Elias, I hate you so much. You're my favorite character.
To go into the lonely willingly is as good as death.
Nope. He's lying.
How do I do it?
He's lying. John's been into the buried and saw the darkness, and the lonely's the last thing he needs to see to be fully marked.
Are you scared, John? Yes. Perfect.
The Magnus.
Anyway, so I was right since like season maybe like 3, let's say.
So I have...
Oh my god, it's been fucking killing me.
So I've been right, actually.
I remember, like,
just
the first
saying.
time you told me that,
I
literally had to. I pulled out my phone and I texted fucking these two because I was like, you guys aren't gonna fucking get it. Just stone cold guess.
So okay, hang on. Did you catch that they revealed the method of his body hopping?
Was it with the eyes that I mentioned like a few days ago?
Yeah, it fucking was.
Here's what happened. Me and my mom watched this magic sitcom that's still fun called Charmed. In that episode of Charmed, there was some like demon psychic that wanted the eyes of a seer. Well, the first thing that I thought when I saw the prop eyes was, I bet they're made of gelatin. I bet you could eat them, but I don't think they're going to do that. I had this big plot hole in my head because Eric Delano mentioned knowing Elias and also knowing James, meaning that what I originally thought Jonah was like one body that just happened and he would just like make him age himself and like dye his hair and then like fire everyone and rehire and all that stuff. But then when Eric was like, I knew James and Elias, this is ridiculous. Then I was like, okay, so what if his immortality is like fucking, Maxwell Rayner and is more like a transference of consciousness. And then in watching that random episode of Charmed, then I was like, oh my god, wait a second, what if he transfers the eyes? I like listed a bunch of things that could have been, I was like, an object that went missing, a corpse? Jonah's corpse? Which I said because I was like, I could be wrong about Jonah and Elias and could just be like fucking shit up, even though that was like the most thing I've ever been confident about ever. But I was like, I guess it could be Jonah's corpse. Or I was like, a giant eye? A pile of eyes? No, that's ridiculous. Anyway, and so... in me thinking I could have been wrong about Elias, I was still right about Jonah's corpse!
Woo! Right.
You have no idea.
Elias, how the fuck did you get the method?
I have some fucking idea.
I'm only psychic and only for this podcast specifically. That's the only option. Anyway, should we continue?
Let me know if you see any good cows. Obviously, you want to tell me if you see any good cows.
I've heard that before. I didn't know this came from that show. Where'd I hear that from? Thomas Sanders,
Statement
I think.
of Hazel Rutter regarding a fire in her childhood home. Original statement given August 9th, 1992. Audio recording by Jonathan Sims, the archivist. Statement begins. Hello, John. Apologies for the deception, but I rather wanted to make sure announce myself.
No!
I once asked her what drove her, what had started her down that path. She told me the desolation had killed her cat. I don't know if she was joking, and to be honest, I could never bring myself to look into her mind and find out for sure. In any case, Gertrude's ruthless
valid crash out.
Collapsing ritual. You see, the thing about the fears is that they can never be truly separated from each other.
That's what.
When does the
Oh
fear
no!
of sudden violence a new ritual must be devised that will bring through all the powers at once.
Wait!
All
What?
14,
Wait!
as I
Are you kidding me?
defeated before any new powers such as extinction were able to fully emerge.
No, this is the Chronicle!
The Eye's auspices, of course. We mustn't forget our roots. And there was only one being that could possibly serve as a link to this ritual. The Archivist. A position that had so recently become vacant thanks to Gertrude's ill-timed retirement plans. Because the thing about the Archivist is that, well, it's a bit of a misnomer. It might perhaps be better named the Archive.
No, 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 no!
You do not administer and preserve the records of fear, John. You are a
No, that's what I said!
both in mind as you walk the shuddering dread of each statement, and in body.
I just wrote!
Each leave their mark upon you. You are a living chronicle of terror. Perhaps then, if I could find an archivist and have each power mark them, have them confront each one, and each in turn instill in them a powerful and acute fear for their life, they could be turned into a conduit for the coming of this nightmare kingdom. Do you see where I'm going, John? It does, admittedly, given the advent of the unknowing, I needn't have bothered.
Yep.
But what's the old saying about hindsight? More important now. Repeat after me. You who watch and know and understand none.
Come to us. I open the door!
Wake up. John, wake up! Yeah. Martin? John? What? Oh, God. Look at the sky. It's looking back.
The Magnus Archives will return April 2020.
Happy season 4!
What the fuck am I gonna... Guys! You didn't tell me! Guys, you guys said... You didn't tell me my entire meta plot was just the plot!
Yeah, babe, because you told us not to!
What the fuck am I gonna do?
And why the curator is afraid of you!
Hey, don't worry.
Hey, Ash, I thought that I might need you for season 5. Hey, Ash, I think I might need your lines a little bit sooner.
I'm sorry.
What am I gonna do? I can't even explain this to my audience. Well, I guess I can now because I have to rethink the entire oh my god! Guys, what am I...
Don't worry, Archivist. You played your part brilliantly.
I thought, God, I was so ready to be original. What are people gonna think when they're just like, oh, this meta plot you've created for yourself? No, it's literally just what happens in the show.
I don't know, they'll probably think you're psychic.
Yeah.
Literally, my hand started when he said when he said Chronicle of Terror. My hand started genuinely shaking.
How hard I had to school my reaction when I heard you say that name for the first goddamn time. Because I was remembering the line Chronicle of Fear. Casey, I am so fucking mad at you. Do you understand?
I don't, guys, I don't know. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
The script for the episode, you say that you're not the archivist, you're the archive.
I did actually. Literally, I'm so mad. I literally changed it 2 days ago. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? I get to listen to Q&As. Man, so many doors are open. Oh no.
So.
Oh my god! And I've been literally saying since the second episode of First Time Listener that Edwin's powers work like a door in it. No!
Yeah. Yes, you have. I think you suggested a little bit ago that the curator would maybe poke around at the door in your head the next time.
No, they wouldn't.
Possess you. Yeah, I just kind of ignored that because no.
I remember you were casually like, I don't think that's how the powers would work. No, it isn't how the powers would work. No, it isn't, you guys. Since March, the very first piece of evidence that I have, having thought about the Chronicle and what it was, is a note on my phone from March 15th, and all that it says is Chronicle of Fear. Oh my god. Shame on me for thinking I ever had an original thought, I guess. Hey, I'm Endicott, they, them pronouns, and this is the second Q&A for the scary little series that is First Time Listener, inspired and based on the Magnus Archives. First question. Despite how many correct predictions you made in the last few episodes, has there been anything that truly blindsided you? Yes! The apocalypse! Apparently some comments thought that I saw the apocalypse coming and that I predicted that it was going to happen. I know different characters like Ashard and Henrik did bring it up. What I thought was going to happen is that in season 4, I thought it was going to end with the Watcher's Crown being attempted and then being dismantled and destroyed and stopped. And then season 5 was going to be about trying to stop the extinction altogether as a team, and whatever the Spider's ultimate plan was would also be the through line. And I thought if there would be an apocalypse to fully happen, it would be how the show would end, and that would be what Protocol is about. Nope. the thing... It's like an ongoing joke that the one thing that I did not predict and never thought I would predict, I didn't predict because it was my meta plot. It was bringing the fears over to here, and I didn't see it coming because that was the one part that I thought I was doing that was a little bit my own idea, but no, it wasn't. It was not. A lot of people also asked for my reactions for the end of the season. What I found the most interesting is that I have this rule in my head about writing in which you never write something that retroactively lowers the stakes of the previous episodes that you've written. From a certain perspective, in writing that all of the rituals would never be able to succeed, technically breaks that rule. And I was really, really impressed by that specific idea because that is like an idea that's based in something that I've always taught myself never to do and never to write, when in actuality, the fact that all of these things and all of these actions that all of these people have been making for decades is ultimately like for naught. That's horrifying. That's so devastating, which makes for a stronger horror. Also a big fan of Peter, did not expect John to straight up kill him. I will say though, I do think that Peter's attempted ritual of the silence is a little bit funny. A little bit funny. I believe it was Hobbs who brought up the idea that it was probably the easiest ritual to dismantle because Gertrude just sent like one email and was like, and we're done, and we got it, and we're good. Which just makes me laugh. And my favorite episode from the last bunch, I really liked Adelard Decker's last statement. Fuck you, John Amherst. I've never liked John Amherst. Ugh. And for Adelard to send that last email as he's not, Filming Ash, how long was it and how many takes did it take? I believe it was 3 or 4. I put gaps in the conversation so I could, say my lines in between them and just kind of hope that there was enough space or as little space to still sound like a coherent conversation between two people. That took the most amount of time was the intro, but I always knew that once I got over the intro and once the statement actually started, then it was fine. By a long shot, the most difficult episode to work on was the episode right before this, and so it was always funny to me because I was like, well, I know this is the one with the most amount of stakes and the biggest tension and the most amount of answers, but at the end of the day, the majority of it is just me listening to someone talk, so it was arguably one of the easiest ones to film since the very first episode. Do you plan on doing first-time listener with the Magnus Protocol? I am absolutely doing this for Magnus Protocol. Like, that is no question. I am really excited because I still can't work out what it is about and I don't want to know. All I know is it's vague. It sounds like it's like a little techier and digitalier. I do know the 2 main characters' names are Sam and Alice, which is really funny because Sam and Alice were original ideas for names for Astrid and Edwin. I try to stay in the dark as much as I can. I still get notifications of the occasional episode name, but so far I haven't gotten any spoilers. All I've been told is once I listen to the end of Magnus, I will know what Protocol is about. The only things I can kind of imagine it would be about would be if they somehow managed to reverse the apocalypse, which I have some vague theories that Edwin will talk about next episode into if that's even possible and how. Or if, as Oliver said, they sort of use up their resources and destroy this dimension planet version of the story. All of the fears were caught in a limbo space before, sort of peering through into John's world. And now John's world, once they're done with it, becomes the limbo space for them to go into another world. And maybe that Protocol is the other world. And so things are a little bit different and the rules are a little bit shifted, but it's still generally the same fears. That being said, I really have no idea. Would you consider doing a series like this for other podcasts? Yes! I've got 2 right now. One of them will be a prequel series of one of Edwin's first adventures, because he's mentioned going and seeing this story. I will definitely be taking a break from Magnus for a little bit. I won't be, the finale won't happen for first time listener, and then I'll be 2 weeks later, and this is Protocol! No. The other 2 video ideas I have, I'm not technically a first time listener for, so I'm not sure for any new viewers if they'll get why the series would be called that, but you'll just have play ball with me a little bit. Edwin is English and everyone else I think is American. Where does first time listener take place? Okay, so here's the thing. As much as I want to make this a story where every single detail means everything and I have the answer to every question, some of it is based in pure practicality and limitation. I'm making this with a little camera and a microphone on my laptop in my room and basement of my mother's house. The funny thing is, the one scene that Jerry has had, my twin sister can't do a British accent. So Jerry is American, but Edwin is British, and oops. But basically, it's nebulous. It doesn't exactly matter. The only overt mention of a location is that Edwin has lived in London before, and that's only true because I lived in London for a little bit. I studied abroad and went to acting conservatory for a semester and lived in Kentish Town. Hence my surprise when in the episode Scrutiny, I've been waiting for them to mention the area that I lived in the whole time, and of all episodes, it was Scrutiny that mentioned Kentish Town. Whew, that was quite the shock. But that's also genuinely the reason why I'm good at the maps, is because in episode 6, Squirm, where Harriet Lee mentioned living in Archway, I was like, oh, Archway, that's 2 stops away of the Northern Line from me. Maybe I should start looking at the maps, which apparently worked really well with Tom Hahn and episode 5 Thrown Away, so... How long does it take to listen to the episodes and put notes in the spreadsheet? How long does it usually take to write a script and the meta plot? I think if I think too hard about the amount of time that I put into this series, I will go a little bit mad, or at least more mad than I currently am. I think the spreadsheet probably takes the longest amount of time, and it is my least favorite part. My second least favorite part is the outline of actually figuring out how to mention the theories and in what order do I say them. That can take anywhere from like a day or two, sometimes 3 days, depending on how many theories I have. But usually the writing the script part doesn't take as much time as the spreadsheet and the outline. I think once the spreadsheet and the outline are done, then everything else just sort of falls through. The recording is usually 3 sessions max, usually 1 session per scene, and the editing does take a while. The editing realistically is probably the longest that it takes. It could be anywhere from like 5 days to a whole week. But basically it's like a 2.5 to 3 week process from start to finish, I would say. Also, how do you mix both metaplot and theory in episode talking all succinctly in a balanced way? I'm glad you think it's balanced and succinct, because it's getting quite long, but generally I just try to keep it to be as even as possible. Preferably each scene is like 15 to 20 minutes, maybe a little bit shorter if I can help it. Oh, one more thing. So this is clearly kind of my first time doing big like theories, plots, secret codes, and hidden videos, put in things, stuff. So sometimes I drop the ball. Generally everything is plot related except for one thing is an Easter egg for a future project. It is not relevant to the plot, and I'm sorry for, I think, the 3 people who were really, really curious about it and wondering what the heck it is. I didn't expect that many people to pay attention to them. And also, it's not a C, you guys. It wasn't a C. Look back on it. It's not a C. But yeah, I think that sums up my solo Q&A. And so next up is some bloopers and then maybe a Q&A with the rest of the cast. So thank you very much for watching and being really interested, and I will see you in the eventually. Alex and Johnny are all, no, don't do bloopers. It'll take away from the experience. No. I did record, though, me telling Henrik for the first time that I think Elias is Jonah Magnus before it was actually a big deal. So I think if I'm right, that'll be a really fun thing to have. Oh, yeah. I think Elias might be Jonah, like Jonah Magnus. Gertrude's the only person who's worked with James Wright. So if Elias was James Wright, only Gertrude would know. And it says that Elias was a researcher who, like, within 4 years became head of the Institute. So that could imply that they just made an Elias up. Also, I haven't heard of a single person who's, like, a descendant of Jonah. But there's tons of Lucases out there. And with Elias's weird shit about saying stuff like Leitner being like, he could die, and then Elias is like, well, that's something that could always happen. Well, almost always. What if he can't die, and what if he's Jonah Magnus? But I don't have actual evidence for it. I just have evidence that would support if... It feels like the kind of thing that would happen. Right? And he's so connected to the eye. But if someone says, like, one thing, then I'm probably going to actually write it into my script, because I thought of it after writing the script, and then I was like, I could add it, but I've got so much to talk about. Percy loves the Lightless Flame, and I think that that would be a really fun character to bring in somehow. And I also had some ideas about my pal Ash being of the spider. I threw the idea out there of, hey Ash, would it be cool if you kind of become spidery? And I also imply that you introduced Edwin to the Magnus Archives, which is like the implication that knowing Edwin's powers, you chose to turn them into the Archivist. And then Ash was like, I don't know how to, yes, I can't elaborate, but that would be great for you to do in seasons 4 or 5. And I was like, cool, sick. Can't elaborate further, but apparently the vibe would fit very well. Percy's within driving distance of me, so I could have someone in person that might be a character, which is fun. I can't go beyond. So hey, make sure you cheat out. I want them to see your face, dork. I can stand, but I also think it might be... wait, you stand up? Nope.
Ooh, it's cold anyway.
It is cold. You can put on the flannel.
But I
Even that's a fair point. No, don't. Back
yeah.
off,
Can I just punch you into the bushes?
Whoa! Edwin's Everyone's hot era. With man bun and leather jacket. Whoa.
Wait. Check this out.
Whoa. Jude Perry could never. You would tornado.
Yeah. No, exactly. This is actually how I summon my powers.
I was gonna say,
yeah.
spoilers for your lore.
Yeah.
Whoa! That's not fast at all!
No! Fuck you!
So you're gonna punch me in the face?
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, you should.
Yeah, wait. Alright,
No! If I had known you weren't gonna wear sleeves, I would have told you to. I would have used my directorial power to keep you warm. No, there's just ash everywhere. Haha, ash. Anyway.
Interesting.
Can't see how long. Damn it! Can we do that again?
Yeah.
That was embarrassing.
You know, you can make me talk, but I... Oh, hee.
Jurgen Lighter, more like. Lighter, I'm really not.
Whoa, dude. Agnes Bond can give you anyway. Okay.
If only I knew anything about her.
Do I look at the camera while doing
Yes. Yes.
I wanted to check. Maybe you wanted me to be off camera slightly.
No.
Because some people don't like it when you look directly at the camera.
Julia, what do you think this show is about?
I don't know. I've never acted in a YouTube video.
I thought you were gonna say I've never watched any of your videos before.
I fucking hate your channel.
Geraldine doesn't wink at the camera.
That's because she's scared and afraid. If she wasn't so sad for her sibling, she would wink at the camera every second of every day.
That's true. The general vibe is a very quick, you're sort of breaching, let me talk, breaching and hope. You're sort of...
You're legally required to tell us. Okay? Don't write a statement hinting that you're a rat bastard. If you're a rat bastard, you have to tell us.
No, not like that. No.
Okay, I'm taking notes. Sibling. This
is my sister.
This is my brother. We are siblings and we care for each other.
Lock the fuck in.
Locked in.
Oh god, never mind. Stop locking in. No.
Approaching.
No. No. So what I want you to do is act. Have you tried acting? Can you act? All right, so next take, can you try acting? Can you move me with your performance?
I can move you.
I'm gonna start acting so much right now. All right.
Dude, I'm not.
No!
So now you can't do the archive.
No, I can't do the archive because I fucked up my tie.
You just mess up the tie.
Yeah, you just
That's the weak spot.
That's the weak spot. Go for the tie, not the eyes. If the curator stabbed my tie, we'd be gone. But holding, more like folding my tie. That was nothing. No. Don't even respond to that. Don't even respond to that. Whoever wrote this is a fool, really.
Who could that be?
What was that?
Hold. No! I can't do this again.
I can't deal with it. I can't work under these conditions.
I can't. I'm gonna start saying different lines.
You're gonna start saying lines from your very first scene in the end of season 2.
Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
Is the day so young? By me, sad hours seem long.
I also realized Agnes Montague's last name is Montague, and I think that'd be fun if they did it on purpose.
That is fun.
Right? I don't know if it was intentional, but I'd like to believe it was, because that's a more fun interpretation. No, I know what I'm doing. I wrote the damn thing.
Fine. What do you want to know?
I don't...
Oh, shit. God damn it.
I wanted to know about the Watcher's Crown, but now I just want to know what the fuck is happening here. It is so hard to look like a normal fucking person. I'm just like, woo, do we have a deal? Do we have should we go from? Where should we go from? You don't know how hard it is to do the accent around other people.
Whoa.
You dropped me.
Sorry.
You dropped me.
No.
Okay, time to die, but I mean, I already did.
Yeah.
But in a
Time to
different way.
reanimate.
Time to I already did. Time to happen again.
Whoa. Fuck, it's again.
It's again. Acting. Sorry, I made myself laugh.
Why is this up here?
Oh.
Like Percy.
I like how you just went in.
Like I put you here, so it's like, yeah. Edwin, what's? Oh no!
Something's
Oh,
wrong.
whoa!
Hi, we're doing a Q&A. I'm your host, and we're gonna go around in a circle, give your name, pronouns, what character you play, and what your favorite episode of Magnus is.
All right, hi, I'm Genevieve. I use she, her pronouns. I play Astrid on the series. My favorite episode...
Pick any number from 1 to 200.
6.
Good answer!
My name is Percy. I use he, him pronouns. The character I play on the show is also Percy. And my favorite episode, I do think I have to go with Mag 67 Burning Desire.
How thematic.
I'm Ash. I'm also Ash. My pronouns are she, her. I'm gonna say the first one. I'm gonna say anglerfish because for a fucking first episode, like mwah.
Pretty
And
great
also
pilot.
the anglerfish is one of my favorite fucking monsters, just in general.
I'm Julia. She, her pronouns. I play Jerry. My favorite episode, I don't remember the name of it. The one where we meet Michael is probably my favorite.
Where you meet? Where you meet
New
Michael,
Door.
or where you
meet Michael?
Okay, that's
Yeah.
episode 47, A New Door. I might have gotten that number wrong.
No, you didn't. Well, I'm Mallory, or Hobbs if we're going by the screen name. I portray the curator, they, them pronouns. I'm gonna go with 119, Stranger and Stranger. I suppose I'll pass it back to our host who still hasn't fucking introduced himself.
I am Endicott, they, them pronouns. I play Edwin Endicott, who has my same name, kind of.
A Magnus classic.
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't think it would be a problem, and then people started to call me Endicott in character, and I was like, whoa. And then I was like, actually, I made the exact same mistake that Johnny did. My favorite episode is probably 147 Weaver. For the statements given by your team, how much are they based on real life experiences, if at all, and who wrote them? What's your process for writing original statements? Since Henrik's not here, I can start with Henrik. Henrik, by sheer coincidence, sent me a short story that he wrote about a storm in Chicago last summer, and he sent it to me being like, hey, just so you know, I think this could be something that you could turn into horror. And it just so happened to be about kayaking, which is like a thing in the Magnus Archives where any character who dies goes kayaking. And Henrik's most feared horror that he's the most freaked out by is the end. And so I thought to myself, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take my friend's true story and apply it to the fear that he fears the most. And so then I added the horror to it, and then Henrik and I edited it together. I also purely wrote Astrid's statement, Genevieve's statement. That one is probably one of my favorites I wrote just because it's weird, and I like writing for the flesh.
That was Flesh? I thought that was Stranger.
It's up to interpretation. I made it intentionally vague, but now I think it's flesh. But I've also heard slaughter.
So the whole thing about like tornadoes being part of the desolation and stuff like that, that is like something that I have, sort of felt was true for a very long time. And in my full first draft of the statement, which ended up being a lot longer than the one that I give in the show, I do sort of have like this whole little tangent about how it kind of pisses me off about how closely each of the fears is tied to one physical symbol, because that is something that does kind of like grind my gears about a lot of like fandom spaces, how sort of unyielding it becomes and how a lot of people do sort of tend to ignore like those muddled spaces and those gray areas. So a lot of the actual like storm chasery elements of my statement are based in truth, I guess, and a lot of what actually sort of drew me to the fears and eventually made the character of Percy into an avatar. A lot of that is based in real life, but obviously where it starts to diverge is the everything sad and tragic that happens between the character of Percy and the character of Ash, because there is no tragedy here.
It's really funny because I, like, every single time I write something about you two, like, character-wise, I always be like, if it's too much, I'll cut it out, I'll bring it down, and then you send me your statement that is so much worse and is devastating, and I was like, I guess I'm fine, actually.
I think all three of us made ourselves really sad when it came to the character Percy and Ash.
And isn't that the show?
Correct. I wrote the curator's statement with some significant editing on Endicott's end. It's not based on any real-life experiences of mine, even a little bit. The process for that one, I suppose, was just, okay, how do I convey, like, as much relevant information about this character who is, like, 90% cognitive dissonance by volume in a way that is not overly long.
That was probably the most amount of tension in the writing process, is when it was really late in the night and we just had to cut it down a lot. And it was a lot.
It was still enjoyable.
Yeah.
For my statement, and a lot of my thoughts about like things that drew me to the web was just like, well, let's call it what it is. I'm a control freak, and I like being the one pulling the strings and like doing shit. It's the reason why I am like a D&D DM. So I was just like, okay, let me like just sit down and just write like some vague thoughts, like bullet point lists.
You word
and then
vomited in a text and it was great. And then I instantly was like, okay, this is the character.
Yeah.
Let me add story to it. I don't remember who thought up of making a Lightner journal. I think it might have been me, but I don't know. But I do know that you were the one who, after I wrote out that thing with your coworker and that sort of thing, Reese Sanderson, I was like, there's a little spider that comes down. And I just remember seeing you delete the last line and then just write, and the spider went into my ear. And I was like, ah! Horrifying! Perfect!
Like I sat down, I was gonna just like word vomit like a thing at you. And then it ended up being most of the like, writing is a lot like weaving a web, don't you think? Like Andy writing it, and then I was just like, well, I'm going to add like, I'll inject just a little bit of spice and venom into this, and then it was just like sort of a back and forth.
And I wrote most of the Chronicle bit because I think it was. I really don't think I've described the Chronicle fully to anyone except Mallory. And well, in my defense, I also didn't know. I didn't know exactly what it was. In my defense, just saying. And I didn't know I had to know it so soon either. What is a trait of the character you play that is your favorite or that you find interesting?
You skipped the rehearsal and script question.
Do you rehearse / have a script? What has been the most complicated scene to film? Yeah, Julia?
I don't know. No, I don't have a script. I didn't rehearse.
You had one line and you made it like take 2 hours.
You told me a lot of things and then you turned on the camera.
And then I said, can you act for me, please?
If I had one line, it would have taken way less time. I had a concept. I
have audio. I have video footage. I have footage of me going, I can write you a line if you want. And you said, no, just give me the idea.
I didn't say that I wasn't offered a script. I didn't have a script.
I think it'd be interesting to hear from Percy, because you're the only person that's done in-person scenes before.
So I would say that, first of all, yes, we have scripts. But I would say that my rehearsal process normally consists of we talk about the idea, and I have the script for like a few weeks. And then like 3 days before we're supposed to film, I go, oh, fuck, I'm supposed to film a scene with Endy on fucking Thursday or whatever. So then I like cram all my lines, and then I have them like mostly good to go by the time I like show up. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll just be like talking to myself in the car while I'm like driving over to your place. So, you know, I'll just be like muttering to myself that whole way and probably looking really normal to everybody else on the highway. Probably the most complicated scene to film, the spoiler scene. I am someone who's much more used to stage acting than film acting. It was definitely an adjustment for me to be like reacting to things as if something was happening that like wasn't really in front of me, you know?
This is very vaguely like a found footage-esque thing in the sense where the cameras sort of appear and you don't actively have intentional shots. Intentional, I say in quotes, because I place it so carefully every time. But I actually think that really elevates our skills as theater people, because there are very few cuts whenever we're doing really long scenes. This is actually a lot more, it sometimes feels a lot more like it's just filming a theater performance, because there isn't multiple takes, there isn't a camera person behind the camera's just placed somewhere, and the microphone is hidden somewhere a little bit off camera. For me, the most complicated scenes are the curator scenes. They are so hard because I'm not just playing Edwin, I'm also taking Mallory's lines and recording my voice underneath it in whispers and sometimes multiple tracks, and then also editing it. And then I am also memorizing those lines and exactly how they are said. So I'm both playing Edwin and the curator. And it's really funny because sometimes I forget that the only times people have seen the curator was me playing them. And sometimes I completely forget that, oh yeah, I guess I also play the curator, kind of. Because in my head, I'm like, no, Hobbs is the curator. And then I think about it and I'm like, I've actually been the only representation of the curator. So I think I also kind of play the curator. But in my head, I'm like, no, I'm not the curator. What are you talking about?
It's wild from my perspective, like, hearing my voice come out of someone else's body. Especially because, like, normally your mannerisms don't match on to mine physically, but every now and again they perfectly do, and it's very disorienting. Also, yes, we do rehearse and have a script for those scenes. Sometimes the writing of the script process is also kind of a rehearsal. I think for both of them we've like hopped on a call and played it out as an actual scene, as if we, you know, weren't sharing a body for it. Of the two, I found the first one more complicated to record. The second one just came overall easier.
I totally disagree. But that was the most difficult one to film for me, and because it took so long, I started to then get really stressed out, because it was also the biggest leaps in the first-time listeners metaplot, in actually confirming this is what the Chronicle does, and also, like, future telling is not a thing in the Magnus Archives, so I kind of just had to really, really hope that that type of, the way that that fear is taken works enough in the story, in this original version, in this, like, weird, whatever the fuck this is. I guess it's not even an adaptation, but still. And so it was kind of the first big, like, this is a plot point that officially does not work for the Magnus Archives, that is intrinsic to first-time listener, and that is about, like, psychicness. And then also in that same thing was the Astrid and Henrik scene of, like, sort of like the blow-up, which was also very difficult to do all the audio stuff for and make it sound like Astrid is in my house when Genevieve was not in my house, despite me always wanting her to be.
That was gonna be, like, I was between two, and that one felt like a cheat answer because it wasn't, that's an editing thing for you and not as much but I was also, like, here in my house, like, putting my computer behind a door and seeing if it sounded any different and trying to record that. So it was like, that was the scene that I think I worried the most about, like, collectively with Endicott, about, like, okay, how do we get this to work? Yeah, I've been lucky that most of my scenes have been audio only. So Henrik and I have hopped on a call with Endicott a couple times to, like, do little acting things, which has been very fun. And otherwise, it's like me just sending voice memos of like, all right,
Yeah.
here's like 3 takes I did. I don't know which one is the best. Are they
And I'd be
good
like,
at all?
all of them are amazing.
Endicott is like, I think my other most difficult scene was the Astrid face reveal. And
Yeah,
little
you got a
laugh.
face reveal.
I have a face.
You have a face,
Yay.
and it's great.
For now.
I was so excited for that one too because for people who don't know, Genevieve is a costume designer, and I really was so excited to hear about what you thought Astrid would wear and sort of creating that outfit together. And I was very particular about, I feel like Astrid would be the type of person whose makeup would be the same color as their clothing. And then you were like, well, guess what? I've got this perfect skirt and that matches this perfect lipstick and also a great sweater vest. And I was like, and that's exactly what I thought. That's perfect. And you even went through all of your different glasses and showed me which different glasses you thought she would wear. It was perfect.
Yeah, which was also part of the reason it was so like anxiety provoking for me, just because that's like Astrid and I have a very different style, and when I'm working just from my closet, it's like, all right, how do I make this character look like their own person and not necessarily just like copy and paste of what I would wear if I were, you know, like a poli-sci major in a eldritch horror like situation. And also I get very like self-critical about like my everything, but particularly my own like acting prowess. So
I think you're doing brilliantly, and Astrid is one of my favorite characters to write. So
stop.
I like most of my stuff has just been like also like voice memos and whatnot. Like we haven't had the opportunity to like sit down on a call or anything like that. So for the most part, it's just like, oh yay, I have lines. We do have a script, yes. And then getting a microphone, speaking into the microphone, not listening to it back, or listening to it back like once or twice because that's all I can do.
Yep.
Listening to my own voice. I have no like experience when it comes to acting, just in general. Most of my experience is just kind of like flying by the seat of the my pants and working around dysphoria.
What is a trait of the character you play that is your favorite or that you find interesting?
I saw where this question got asked, and I remember a part of the original asking was, would you get along with your character if you met them in real life? And I feel like that should still be included.
We're playing around with like inspiration and a little bit of like characters who like know what they're supposed to do, even if they're not entirely sure why they're supposed to be doing it. And so of that like predeterminism, I think, is a or perceived predeterminism, I think, is a lot of like fun. As for whether or not I would get along with this person, no. I think both me and character Ash would just like repel like magnets. It's like we'd either kill each other or we'd kiss, and there's like no in between about it. And I think kill is most the option. Yeah.
I mean, why not both?
One of my favorite traits about playing Edwin is I really like how strangely gentle he can be. And I don't mean that he's like a good guy or he's like always morally correct all the time. I really like playing with the idea of being a very gentle soul while also feeling the urge to spread fear. Because I think the biggest difference between Edwin and John is really good at sort of not exactly saying exactly what he's thinking, and so from an audience perspective, you can never quite tell where he's at. Like you can't fully tell a lot of his motivations or if he's against something or for something. Like by the end of the season of season 4, you couldn't exactly tell what headspace he was in, like if he would truly want to stop what could have been the Watcher's crown. And I think there's a lot of that aspect in season 5 as well, to be really uncertain about where his head is at. But the thing about a broadcast is it's YouTube, it's broadcast yourself. You are talking directly to the camera the whole time. And so I think Edwin's dynamic is really different, where they're always very actively saying exactly what they're thinking to the camera, even if it is like denial, or even if they're deluding themselves. I think there's a lot less of a way for Edwin to intentionally deceive or mislead their audience. I think that caused a lot of audience members to be like, no, Edwin's actually worse than John, which I'm not sure I agree with, but I think that you see Edwin make the decisions, while John, it's much more like up in the air. Like, you don't see what happens in scrutiny, you hear it, and then you kind of see his half reactions afterwards. And I think it's a lot easier to like push away how much of a conscious choice a lot of his like fear-related actions were. But for Edwin, it isn't.
I think one of the most interesting parts about playing Astrid for me is something that you talked to me about, like, from the very beginning. Like, one of the first notes about Astrid for her very first scene was like, when she gets mad or angry, she doesn't get loud, and it's not expressed in a, like, for lack of better words, I guess, violent way. She has this instinct to help people, and she gets involved very quickly because she sees something happening to her friend and needs to do something about it. But there's this sort of warring preservation of her own feelings, I guess, in a sort of way, where she's not going to hurt other people despite how like worried or angry or concerned she is about something. And then we sort of see as it goes on how the situation builds, and she just can't do that anymore. And like, we don't know the consequences of that yet. She's not like super forward in her own like intentions for herself. She's not going to come out here trying with a motivation for some sort of self-preservation. So what is that motivation? What is she trying to like do for the people around her? Why is she doing this, if not for some selfish reason, I guess? It was definitely very cool to see how that changed as Edwin gets worse, like how she reacts to like this very, going from someone who's not going to yell or get angry at their friend, like seeing that escalate so quickly as the situation gets worse. I'm very curious to see like where we go next, because it feels like there's been kind of a breaking point.
An impasse, yeah.
Yeah.
In particular, my goal with Astrid is Henrik and Edwin I'd consider to be two very fiery people, and I wanted Astrid to be very icy. When she engaged with like the stopping Edwin plan with Henrik was the one who was shouting and distracting, but Astrid just did the job. She did not intend to talk to Edwin, but she intended to just do the thing that they needed to do. And then when that didn't work, then she was like, you know what? This is too far. Let me just, I'm gonna get even.
Yeah, exactly. That's sort of like no nonsense, where like something needs to be done, so I'm gonna do it, but I'm not gonna sugarcoat the situation or, try to make it something that it's not.
Exactly.
Between the two like volumes where I had like, an on-screen presence, sort of the character of Percy taking on almost like a Helen-esque role for Edwin, in terms of just like guiding him a little bit through like, the emergence of his powers and through what it means to like be whatever his version of an archivist looks like and stuff like that. And I think that, that sort of relationship between the two of them is really, really interesting. And I think that just everything about how Percy is processing his new state is very interesting to me, because it's this really bizarre mix of like absolutely reveling in this power that he has and just defeatism because he knows how the story goes and he doesn't feel like he has the power to change it. I don't think Percy thinks that there is really a way out of this, and I don't really think he cares. As for the part of the question, if, I think I and my character would get along, I feel like he'd fucking hate me. Yeah, exactly. I think he would be very, very bitter about just how well shit is going for me.
That's so cute. G and I forgot to say if we would get along with our characters. Edwin is weird. I think I would get along with Astrid very well. But Edwin is weird because he's not me, but they're also like, their theories are my theories, so it's like we're different people, but it's also weird because their thoughts are also my thoughts. If we were the same person in like the first episode, I don't think we are anymore. I think there are similar through lines with us, but I don't think we'd get along. I'm not sure if we would get along because I don't know. It's hard to have a different personality but the same thoughts to a character, which makes it really difficult for me to gauge if I would like them because we are thinking the same things. But let's go with maybe. Astrid and I are very different in a lot of ways. I think I don't have the same iciness that Astrid has. Like I think I'm maybe a little bit, I hope I'm a little bit more like warm and caring. I am like Astrid when I go into like problem solving mode. Mm-hmm. Like I think we have a similar, like, we're not going to worry about it, we're just going to get it done. But that only comes out in me when it's, like, I'm backstage at a show and there's, like, a problem going on. Like, that is my, like, focus, like, crisis mode. I think there would be, like, a mutual respect there, though. That is so funny because I did pull a lot of Astrid's inspiration and her methodical energy from when we work on shows together and how just on top of it you are. So that very specific character trait from Astrid I did take from us working together a lot. So I think that's really fun that was also exactly what you pulled too.
Julia, you go. I think it'll be funny.
Edwin and Jerry's relationship is very much based on Casey and mine. We're twins. Ever since we were born, been twins. And to this day, we're twins.
This sudden sense of deja vu.
I was born at a young age. The feelings that Jerry has of being alone is very much amplified by the fact they have this close bond that they cannot access at all. And I think that's really fun one to play with, especially because Casey didn't know the lonely as like a dimension existed.
Shout out to me trapping Jerry in the lonely before I knew the lonely was a place he could be trapped in.
I feel like the only trait the curator has that I find admirable is their stubbornness. Like, they are very determined to get shit done, and I can respect that. In terms of, like, what's interesting, they are a mess of contradictions, and some of that was, like, intentional character writing for a very specific purpose, and some of that was, when I started, like, you know, being in character in the comments, I didn't have a character in mind. I was just doing shit in a vaguely Michael tone of voice, and then I had to go and retroactively make all that make sense. Would we get along? God, no. No. Absolutely. They are, like, a pure cognitive dissonance and hypocrisy and victim blaming. That's their whole personality. They're the worst. I would hate them. But also they could turn me into a monster, so maybe I would pretend to not for long enough to, like, let them do that.
In their defense, so could Edwin, so...
You know, that's a good
so
point.
Like a fucking book, like that's.
Yeah, and they could give me the right book. I could be like, "Hey, buddy, I want to be this," and they'll be like, "Yeah, sure, here, I've got just the thing."
I assume it was probably difficult to create a whole character when you started off watching a dumbass web series and now you're suddenly like the #1 consultant editor for it.
Still don't know how that happens.
I don't know either. You just sort of emerged.
Yeah.
Just called friendship.
That's ridiculous. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, no, that doesn't sound right.
No, that's not right at all. Favorite first-time listener episode?
I really liked when you first embodied the curator.
That was episode 9, In Dreams. Yes. That was also Astrid's first episode.
That was volume 7, not 9. Pretty sure.
Casey's a liar.
I'm better at the Magnus numbers than I am about the first time listener numbers.
Weird since you wrote this.
9 was hunger. I remember because I'm in that one.
You're in that
Also
one.
weird because there's so many more Magnus numbers.
I got episode 47 a new door correct, and I can't count to 11.
Hey G, what's your favorite first time listener episode?
Astrid's statement episode.
Yeah,
Selfish,
that was also hunger. I think Edwin losing his mind a little bit in a special guest was really fun to do, and that was also Percy's first scene. So a special guest has a special place in my heart. But I think In Dreams was really cool. Was also I think I like In Dreams a lot because that was one of the biggest leaps of my own meta plot for like the first time, I would say, in making Edwin dead, introducing Astrid, and introducing the curator. I think that was the one that had the most meta plot that actually made me anxious about people not liking that it would be its own plot.
I'm also probably going to go with In Dreams because it was fun to show up. Second place goes to, I don't remember which episode it was, but whichever one has hard cut to I think Elias is Jonah Magnus might be the funniest moment in the show.
That's
so
a special
that episode
guest!
is also up there. Okay.
Maybe it's recency bias, but I do think my favorite is probably Volume 11, Chronicle of Terror. I have been waiting for you to give your damn statement for so long. And also, like, it came out brilliantly. But also, ever since you started telling me anything about where the meta plot for First Time Listener was going.
Oh, God!
And from the moment you started telling me your theories, and I was like, oh God, you are hitting every single nail on the head. From the second all of that started, I was like, how the fuck is Endy gonna handle this?
I was sleeping over at your place, and that was before we filmed your first scene, because we talked through
that was fucking
who
March.
Percy
that was right around.
And then I remember us being drunk in the lobby of your apartment and me being like, you have to have a poker face. Well, I tell you this, you have to have a poker face. But I think Elias might be Jonah. And you were like, interesting.
Yeah, no, that was the best piece of acting I've ever done, was not reacting to that. Oh, I am so excited for everything you're gonna do for season 5. I genuinely am. And just like seeing the groundwork for that start to be set and seeing just that ending and, you know, seeing Edwin perform the ritual and stuff like that.
That was fun.
Was truly so much fun and so fucking satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
And I just...
And can I just say, it's so fucking hard to memorize that incantation. What the fuck, Johnny?
Okay, yeah, no, because I did it. I told you this. I had to do it back when I was still cosplaying. I did it for a John video.
Crawls and chokes and blinds and falls and twists and leaves and hides and weaves and burns and hunts and rips and bleeds and dies. Fuck off, actually.
My favorite is also a special guest because I am nothing if not blatantly, I have my blatant favorite, and it's a lot of fun, and I liked seeing you get fucking punched.
I was gonna say, that was really great, because the audience doesn't know this, but I have 4 stage combat certifications, and I'm also a fight choreographer, so actually being able to fight with Percy, who also does stage combat, was really nice. So being able to at least do one punch was really satisfying, because I don't think...
You're telling me it wasn't a real punch?
I don't think that we have a place for swords in this show, despite my want for it. Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite?
Who? Done speaking, so you have a cutting point. Who? If I'm speaking, you can't cut. If I'm speaking, you can't.
Who?
And cut.
I believe you've turned into an owl.
Welcome back, listeners.
For the first time. Who is your favorite character and first time listener, excluding your own? My favorite character I really like writing Astrid.
Rick is my other favorite, I think.
I've already said I have a blatant favorite, and it is my dear and darling boyfriend. I like seeing you punch Andy. Somebody needs to do it, I think.
And
it needs to happen more.
That's a good point.
Somebody needs to smack some sense into that boy.
Character Ash is like such a brilliantly done villain. And again, there's like, I know that there's so much more to come for her. How do I say this in a way that doesn't give anything away about the rest of the show?
Thin ice. We can also, you can also not. Just, you're excited to see what happens.
Yes, I'm excited to see what happens. I have reasons for being excited to see what happens anyway. Like, it's so hard to pick favorites because I love everyone's inclusion. Like, I know that that's such a cop-out answer, but it's like the way that you have managed to work in, like, Astrid and Henrik and the curator especially, it does feel very much like this is just a group of people who were all kind of in exactly, depending on how you look at it, the right or wrong place at the right or wrong time. That's just something that I always love, not even just about Magnus, but about like horror in general, is it's like these people are truly just, again, victims of circumstance.
I will say Henrik is the people's favorite. I've been calling him the people's princess because Henrik is the most common favorite character.
Yeah. One, I genuinely do really like your performance, Mallory. You're really cool. And
you.
Henrik.
Sorry, Henrik, that we're all gushing about you. Stop being so talented, asshole.
Henrik, you should have been here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We would have been meaner to you if you were here.
I mean, I love a shadowy manipulator. Gotta go with Ash.
I've got a cool book over here. That's pretty. Isn't it?
That is a cool book.
So hey, where did I get the almanac? Did I make it? Fuck no, I didn't make it.
Somewhere along the line, about the point where we were like, hey, so how can I be involved in this? As a joke, I was like, well, I could just send you a lightener. And then I thought about it and I was like, that sounds really fun. What if this wasn't a joke? The process for this one was collecting a bunch of like short stories and novels and excerpts from novels that all have a like kind of weird fever dream quality to them, blotting out in different colors every instance of a name in the book, cutting down what was approximately like 36 characters into about 6, whose names are different color blobs. Oh, and then also, you know, altering the text, and once we get to the ending section, then there was a whole sequence that I wrote, and the, like, actual physical, like, alterations. Robin did all of that.
My name is Robin Soot, and I was the other force behind the creation of the Almanac of Aneric Apertures. I was the person who facilitated its physical existence, I suppose. I worked for a long time, around 8 years, for a very small independent publisher, and whenever we published something new, he, just for fun, honestly, liked to do a very small run of fine editions of the new book. Basically, I collected all the materials and brought them to a local bookbinder to put together in the way that we wanted. The bindery also did the printing of the text on a type of paper called laid finish, which is machine manufactured now, but it's made to resemble the old handmade paper where you could see the lines in the paper from where the paper mush was laid out wet in a sieve. The book itself is what you would call a 1/2 binding, which is where about half the surface area of the covers, specifically the corners and the spine, are done in a different material. Usually it's linen or leather. In the Almanac's case, it's goat leather. The boards themselves are bound with hand-marbled paper, and that was sourced from a tiny little seller in the Netherlands called Mundus Book Arts. I personally did all the handwritten segments, I did the marginal notes, I also did the final passage at the end and all of the other weirdness. That is all the work of my hands. I just changed my handwriting for the different fictitious characters. The colored censoring throughout the book was also all done by me, with a brush and gouache paints. I wasn't deliberately keeping track of the time I spent, but that part of the process took 14 hours. And I know it took 14 hours because they were consecutive. I was going out of town in a couple days, so I just kind of walked in for it. There's a photo somewhere of me sitting at a buddy's kitchen table, forlornly holding a hairdryer in my hand to make the paint dry faster. But altogether, the entire process of choosing materials, waiting for them to arrive, the bindery doing its thing, and then my part in it took about 3 or 4 months. I believe Mallory first approached me about it in March, and we finished it and shipped it off at the end of June. Like I said, I had the privilege of working with and around vintage and finely bound books for a pretty significant amount of time, and it it was my pleasure to be able to share that experience with someone else, even in a small way. I really hope everybody enjoys it.
Did that with the full awareness that probably maybe 3 people would ever get the full effect of it. Maybe there's a way that it won't just be us. Who knows what's in there? Who can say?
Yeah, who can say? This is more for the people who have seen this show in its entirety. I haven't, Julia hasn't, and Genevieve hasn't seen any of it. Did you predict/believe Endicott when it came to Elias being Jonah Magnus?
Oh yeah, Endicott, I was sleeping over at their house and I wake up in a fright and they're leaning over the bed and they whisper, Elias is Jonah Magnus. And I'm terrified. I don't know where I am because I went to sleep in Chicago. And it was terrifying. They were like, get dressed, you're Jerry. I'm like, what? And you're like, you're Jerry. I'm like, please, God, help me. They're like, there's no God here. And I haven't been back since. It's just been really rough for me.
Percy, you were there because you were the first person I told.
Yeah, and then I immediately texted this one and Adele just being like, guys, I'm so fucking angry.
My experience with learning that you predicted that is I received very angry texts or Discord messages. First from this one and then from Hobbs, both being like, God fucking damn it.
Yeah.
No, you want to talk about wild predictions? How the fuck did you figure out the exact method of his transference? Like 6
Yeah, what the hell was that?
It was literally like a few days before.
Hey guys, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What was your favorite personal Endicott theory that ended up being wrong?
Fuck! I was hoping no one saw that question!
Mine was Martin is a vampaire.
I hate that so much!
I was about to say, I was so ready to answer this one.
I knew someone was gonna bring it up. I knew someone was gonna bring up Martin being a vampire. I am so mad!
Like, I think that's the objectively correct.
In other regard, they were just fucking seeing the future, except for like him being a vampire.
The idea of the People's Church of the Divine Host being tied to all the fears was like fascinating, and a cult of all the fears would be a really cool concept that to actually show up in the show at some point, and it never did. So I like that one.
I have heard before that there are, a lot of things that they were still kind of working out, like early in the game. Like episode 5, for example, that was them just kind of like throwing spaghetti at the wall.
I would just like to say that if you looked at the maps, episode 5 is a lot easier to figure out if anyone investigated the maps. It connected Wolfenstone and Clarence Lawrence. I was just saying, hey Julia, what if you were connected to a fear? Which one would it be?
It's the spiral.
Yeah, it's the spiral.
My character is the lonely for plot reasons, but I very much like the spiral, and I loved meeting Michael.
I mean, it's definitely the eye, right? Like, it's my whole thing. I've pondered the possibility of the vast. Being involved with this has, like, raised the chances that the web would get me, honestly. Like, keeping you on track and making sure you only know exactly what you need to know to keep the plot running has been fun, and apparently I'm good at it. I don't know how.
I mean, you personally instigated the plots of the Curator to implement dreams early on by calling me the Dreamwalker, and then I had the idea of possession, but I was like, maybe we can do foreshadowing by having Edwin dream about the objects used for the possession ceremony, and you were like, yeah, chill. Yeah, cool. That works. Let's do that.
I think I was like, yeah, I think there's a couple good spots in, like, the last 10 episodes of season 3 where you can be, like, talking about dreams and it'll lead into things.
And then Hobbs is also very adamant on being like, hey, can we listen to the end of season 3 together for some reason? That just sounds really fun, right? That just sounds really cool and fun and quirky. I would love to do that. And that's also how they talk. And then we did, and then hit episode 120. And then me slowly being like, oh my god, the Archivist has been dreams the whole time, and I was just I was just roped into somehow foreshadowing the dreams without me knowing what it was. And that's, I mean, episode 120 is still one of the scariest episodes to me, just purely because it happened. I was unintentionally roped into the horror of the dreams and scary. For all you actors out there, what's your favorite role that you have ever? Okay, bye, Ash, man. I'm gonna miss Ash. What is your favorite role that you have ever played?
I was in a children's play where I played a dragon that had seasonal allergies and wrote poetry, and it was genuinely so much fun. I sang a bunch of songs, and it was a great time. And my second favorite is I played a fly-themed supervillain who spun plates the entire time, and every time I made a pun, I threw a plate up in the air and caught it. That was in a 24-hour play. The script was written, memorized, and performed in 24 hours.
No wonder you had a spiral.
I played Dr. Frankenfurter in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and I will never play a better role ever again.
I played a robot named LC4 in a play called Fight Girl Battle World when I was a junior in high school, and it was so freaking cool. It was like a space opera play, and we did a ton of stage combat, and I was a robot.
I was Rafe in the play Galatea, which no one in the audience will know, but it's basically like a Shakespearean era comedy, and I was the B-plot main character in which me and my 3 brothers got shipwrecked, and then we split up and searched for jobs, and I just kept getting the worst bosses, where there would be an alchemist who would promise me gold and then give me nothing, and then an astronomer who would grant me knowledge and gave me nothing, and I just wanted money, and it ended with us stumbling into the main plot that was turning into a wedding, and then Venus herself was just like, "Can you sing? We need musicians," and then we're like, "Yeah." And I also composed all the music for that show as well, from the original 1515 text that was there, because there was 2 points where they're like, "And now we're gonna sing," and so then I took that and made a sea shanty with my brothers for one of them. Diana's people were attacking Cupid, and we also did that.
And you also played For You by Freedom Fry during the curtain call, and that's how I was introduced to that song, and now I really love it.
All right, the last question I have. Any podcast recommendations? Don't you fucking dare say the Magnus Archives. We know that we would all recommend it. It's pretty good. I think it's all right. Oh God.
Also, if you haven't listened to the like Rusty Fears entries, there's a lot of like good original horror in there, and you should. It's
Say
good
the
extra
thing,
content.
please. I want you to tell the people. Damn it.
You can say it, but if I say it, then this becomes shameless self-promotion.
Hey people, so you know that Rusty Fears thing where there's a competition for people to submit horror stories, and if you win, Johnny reads them? Yeah, so Hobbs has been one of the winners this whole time.
I refuse to say which one because then people will know my dead name, and I actually don't want that.
That's my thing, is I wanted to keep it vague because I know that your dead name's attached to it.
Here's my actual answer. The Silt verses. Listen to the fucking Silt verses. You have to. If you listen, audience and also people in this call, if you are hearing my voice right now, you have to listen to the fucking Silt verses. Am I being too intense about this? Yes. Is it optional? No. Do it. It's so good.
One of my favorite podcasts is called Out of Place. It's also actually centers around an archivist, but he actually has the right degree to be an archivist, but he didn't finish the degree though, so still problems. He's being sent these random artifacts, and as he examines them, he starts to be like, this doesn't make sense. These things don't match the timeline of our world. And he's just trying to figure out what the hell is happening with this institute. It's weirdly related. Or for something more casual, 2 of these people are lying by the technical difficulties. It's a fun panel show-ish game.
I have sort of fallen off of it, but my recommendation is probably Hello from the Hallowoods.
I've heard such good things.
Yeah. It's very similar in genre to, like, Casey, I know you're into Spirit Box Radio.
That was my recommendation.
It's very, like, that same sort of, like, cozy horror kind of vibes. Wonderful ensemble cast. One of the characters, Percy Reed, is actually one of the inspirations behind my name. Yeah, there's a lot of really, really interesting, like, separate little plots that all sort of weave together in a very interesting way. Fantastic queer rep, just all the fuck over the spectrum. And yeah, really interesting narrator and stuff like that. And they do a lot of really cool stuff with like the reason that the story is being told in universe and like all of the sort of more diegetic aspects of it. And I really need to get back into it because I did fall off of it kind of a while ago, but I really, now that I'm thinking about it, I do quite miss that story and I want to pick it back up.
I also took my name from my recommendation, so I understand exactly how much of a recommendation that is. And also, having just started listening to Hallowoods, the concept of ads in your dreams is something I've been actually horrified by for about a real-life year, and it's so upsetting that that's showing up from episode 2.
I am not as much into the horror podcast side of it, but one I always try to recommend. Yeah, did you just get booed?
Mallory's being mean. No, Genevieve, keep talking. Genevieve, keep talking.
I have anxiety. I can't help. I don't like.
I'm sorry.
You should be.
I'm never sure how like widely known it is, but it's since ended. It's called the Penumbra Podcast. They vary between two like storylines. One is this like space noir that follows a detective on Mars.
Juno Steele, my best friend Juno Steele.
Juno Steele. And the other is a like female knight in this like fantasy setting, and both have a lot of like great queer representation all across the spectrum. It's a fun listen. I was like really into it, and then I like left for a while, and then I got back into it recently, and I haven't listened for a while again, but it's always a fun one. And then I'm a D&D podcast girly, so I'm out here listening to NADPod. That's my go-to.
One thing I will say about Penumbra, though, is if you have like misophonia that's related to like kissing noises or anything, do not. It's so bad.
For me, Spirit Box Radio is a big one for me. Big fan. Shout out to Era Major. Great work. It's about a psychic call-in, or I guess write-in radio show where you give advice and pull tarot cards, and Madame Marie is usually the host, but then she goes missing, and in comes Sam Apollo Enfield, who used to just be like the post person, the post boy, and is now just like, I guess I'm hosting it now. Let's see what happens. And Percy made a really good point of saying it's very like cozy horror, and all the characters are really fun, and it slowly spreads out into like a mystery of like, well, what happened to Madame Marie? And we learn more about Sam's background and how Sam knows Madame Marie and that sort of thing. And it's just very good. And the second season is excellent. And the voice acting is very, very good as well. And I highly recommend it. And a non-horror one, I recommend 36 Questions. It is so good. It's great for a car ride because it's just 3 episodes long, and it's about this couple, Jace and Natalie. Jace realizes that Natalie's been lying about her everything their entire marriage, and ever since, even her name. And so then Jace runs away and goes to live at his parents' place for a little bit, and then Natalie comes back and has a packet for him, hands it over, he opens it, and it's the 36 Questions, which is a scientific paper that was created as 36 questions of interpersonal closeness, and it's a list of questions that you do with someone that is said to make you fall in love, and that's what they did on their first date. And so Natalie goes over to Jace and says, "My name is Judith Ford, and I love you so much, and I want you to actually get to truly know me now. I want us to do these questions again." And the music is fantastic. The 2 leads are Jesse Shelton and Jonathan Groff, and I cannot recommend it enough. I don't know a lot of people who talk about it very much or know it. It's so many themes about like forgiveness and truth and running away, and it is, I cannot possibly recommend it enough. And it's one that is not talked about as often as I would like it to be. Hey, first-time listener,
Well,
who's your favorite character?
Hey, listener, if you could first time, what would you listen?
She first on my time till I listener.
then.